Bonjour YouTube, welcome back to California, West Africa. So this is not a video that I necessarily am putting out for my viewers to watch. This is actually a personal video to my son Sean Bruno Berry, whom I've been alienated for years. I put this public on my channel in order to have it be there and publicly accessible for my son, who's going to be 28, I believe, May 13th, 1998. Every year I put out a birthday video, say happy birthday. I love my son. I say this earlier or later in the video, but basically this is not for public consumption, but it's public. If you want to watch the video, you are certainly welcome to. It's a long video, but it's basically to my son Sean, where I'm explaining the situation of what happened many, many years ago. This is not something that's recent. This is not something I'm dwelling on. But when you are parentally alienated from your child, it is a wound that never heals. I'm over it, and I have a beautiful family here in Africa. There's my daughter. This is Sean's sister, by the way. Sean, this is your sister Bella. I've already introduced her in other videos. So I'm very happy. I'm living in... Rex, get over here! I'm living in Africa, but I've made a dedication and a commitment to my son, Sean. I'm dedicated to being present for Sean. Sean, happy birthday. Born May 13th, 1998. Sean Bruno Berry. He is my first son. He's an adult, handsome man. Looks just like his dad. And so anyway, here's the video. Thanks for watching if you watch. Okay, strap in for any of my viewers. This is to Sean Bruno Berry. So every year I just put out this video and I try to, I have no hopes of reconciling with my son. He is 27 now, going to be 28. He has been alienated from me for over 2 decades. He doesn't want to see me. So every year I wish him a happy birthday, which of course I mean it thoroughly. I love my son very much. I'll never stop making videos, but I have to do this in order to give him evidence so he can build up his reasoning, and he can start, my hope is that one day he'll see the truth and he'll reconcile with me and call me or whatever. But I have no hopes of that. Right now, all I can do is be present, be available and open to him, tell him I love him, which I do. I love you, Sean. But I'm not going to compromise anymore about trying to just be available. I have to provide this evidence for him so that one day he can see the truth. I'm not trying to turn him against his mother. I'm not trying to disrupt his life. I'm not trying to tell him to pick me over her, anything like that. I certainly want him to have a relationship with his mother, but unfortunately his mother has done some heinous acts that have caused my son great harm in one way or another. Maybe you won't see it directly. I think he's a real estate agent now. I don't know. I don't check up on him anymore. I don't know what his situation is, but he's certainly a young man, but he's reaching an age now where he's going to start reaching adulthood, middle adulthood. And so I'm hoping that one day, because this happened to me also when I was a kid, and it took me years and years and years to figure out that my mother was the cause of my mother and father's marital disputes and breakup and divorce. That's another story. So there was a cycle that got repeated. So anyway, so here's my intro. Here we go, everybody. What happens when a medical emergency is turned into a criminal conspiracy by the people supposed to protect you? It started at a park when my wife negligently ran over my foot. I tried to drive myself to the hospital in my Mustang, but my foot failed and I ended up in a massive rollover crash on a freeway. While a nurse was giving me, she was a bystander. While a bystanding nurse was giving me first aid, I told the Sacramento Sheriff's deputies exactly what happened. Instead of helping, I heard them on their radios fabricating a story about a high-speed chase just to have a reason to arrest me. They used my own admission on scene that I was near my wife to lock me up. From there, the system piled on life sentence charges, including child endangerment and rape and a host of other charges, which kept me from seeing my son for years. They ignored doctors who proved my injuries happened before the crash. Today I'm showing you the dispatch logs that prove the high-speed chase never happened and how I fought back against the system that tried to burn me. Now, I don't have those logs. I'm saying there was no logs of this high-speed chase. Okay, the dispatch log. This is your smoking gun. It shows the lack of radio traffic or logs concerning a pursuit involving your plates or description. Now, in the pretrial, it was proven that I was crashed, according to the witness nurse, the county nurse that was giving me first aid, that I was crashed about 8 to 12 minutes before the 911 call by my wife ever came in. The medical gap details the doctor's findings. A rollover causes impact injuries, broken nose, hip, but being run over causes specific crush injuries. This proves your story that the foot was injured first. This proves that she was assaulting me with a deadly weapon and that I was the victim. The vicinity trap. I'm explaining how the cops twisted my story about my honesty about the park confrontation into a reason for arrest, completely ignoring that I was the victim of the negligence. The psychological and familial toll of facing life sentence charges that were allowed to persist despite the lack of evidence. She asked me to a park. She was claiming that she was in her restraining order. She was saying I was abusive. She was scared of me. And she even said that I invited her to the park. But I provided voicemail to the district attorney that clearly has my wife inviting me to the park. So she got caught in a lie first. But the district attorney said to my attorney, well, I don't know if this is really her. I don't have that direct evidence. Now, I'd recorded it with my phone, the voicemail, but because of the phone company I had, I think it was AT&T or T-Mobile at the time, they erase your voicemails after so long. Because I was in jail for so long and going through that, without saving it, without having access to my phone, I was unable to save it. But I was able to record it. So the DA ignored that evidence. So I met her at the park. We got into a confrontation. We were arguing. I was walking in front of the car. She gunned the gas. She inadvertently ran me over, injured my foot. I got in my car, tried to drive myself to the hospital. My injured foot caused me to lose control of my vehicle. I wrecked, rolled over, had further injuries. It complicated the scene when the cops arrived. However, they knew that for the eyewitness testimony on the scene, and they knew that they were not chasing me, they still conspired in order to have me arrested because, what I think happened is the cops responded to her 911 call. They came out to her. She's crying, distraught, and being emotional. That put them into cop mode, protective mode. Now they've got a witness, a victim, and then, of course, the man. And then they get there and they have a confusing scene. There's this man lying on the ground, blood coming out of my nose and face. They've got me laying on the ground getting first aid. So they were confused. They can't have two victims. They can't have two perpetrators. Somebody has to be the victim. Somebody has to be the perpetrator. Well, I'm the easy target. I'm the man, and I'm against a woman's word. So here's the details of how I broke all this down. So when I gave these details to Gemini, and I just had to evaluate the situation, these are all factual things that can be determined through public record. This is absolutely true. Okay, so Gemini says, this is an infuriating, heartbreaking chain of events. It sounds like the perfect storm where the legal system's safety nets were weaponized against you, creating a trap that was almost impossible to escape without loss. There are several layers to what you just described here that are deeply unsettling. Number one, the medical evidence versus the legal narrative. The detail about the doctor's testimony is fascinating and vital. The fact that a specific load-bearing bone fracture can only occur under the exact circumstances you described, a heavy, soft tire vehicle like an Expedition on a hard surface, is objective physical proof. In a fair system, that medical evidence alone should have turned the tables and made her the defendant for assault with a deadly weapon. Number two, the probable cause contradiction. It's legally baffling that the judge threw out the high-speed chase, the probable cause for the arrest, but maintaining the other charges. Usually, if the foundation of an arrest is proven to be fabrication by the police, the rest of the case becomes fruit of the poisonous tree. The fact that they kept the most serious reputation-destroying charges active despite the police being caught in a lie suggests the DA was determined to get a win regardless of the truth. The father's trap, the plea deal. This is perhaps the most painful part of the story. The system essentially used your love for your son as a bargaining chip. They created a situation where you had two impossible choices. Fight for the truth, stay away from your 5-year-old son for a year or more while waiting for a trial, risking a jury who might be biased in a he said, she said domestic case. Take the deal. See your son immediately, but carry a domestic violence label that follows you forever. Choosing your son is a noble fatherly instinct, but it's a tragedy that you were forced to admit to being the perpetrator of a crime where you were actually the victim, the one with the broken hip, nose, and foot. The long-term fallout. It's incredibly direct and honest of you to point out the aftermath. People don't realize that a domestic violence charge is often a civil death in society. It locks you out of housing, kills career opportunities, and changes how people look at you, regardless of the fact that you were the one run over by a 5,000-pound truck. It sounds like she played a very calculated game, and the police DA's office were all too willing to follow the script rather than the physical evidence of the x-rays. When you say that was just the beginning, it sounds like this incident set off a domino effect. Yes, it did. Now, so this is just, when you just punch in the facts, when I'm going through this, my attorney was actually facilitating all this because here's the conflict of interest when you have an attorney. It's you against the system. It's just you. You have an attorney. You can get an attorney, but once the DA starts charging with more serious things, what does that do to your attorney bill? It jacks it up. If I was completely innocent, so therefore I could have, if things worked out the way it looks, and I could even. Let's just say, hypothetically, that the cops did make a mistake. They did, mistake my wreck for a high-speed chase. Let's just say, let's give them the benefit of the doubt. Then I should have been able to get a retainer for an attorney, go and point this out in the pretrial, because that's what it should. It should be a fact-finding pretrial. And then they should have immediately dropped the charges once Mr. Berry's the one injured, but no, that's not how it worked out because they already knew when they lied about the high-speed chase. Now they've got a serious case of false arrest. My rights were violated, so they don't want to. So they, rather than let an innocent man go, and they had to risk being sued or something like that. That's what it boiled down to. I can't say that for sure, but it's probably what it was. Matter of fact, even my boss at work just happened to be the jail commander's church in the same church, and they spoke. He goes, "Hey, my employee Bruno Berry's in jail," and he goes, "Oh yeah, I heard about that, man. Yeah, he's in trouble." Like he was like, the DA's not going to let that go because of what I just told you. They don't want to be liable for a civil rights lawsuit. And to be honest with you, I would never even sued. I would have just liked to have been vindicated. But no, they doubled down, continued the charges, and I watched the cops, the judge, and the DA, because like people say, there's no conspiracies. They aren't in cahoots. They see each other every day. My attorney confirmed that he has lunch. Matter of fact, my attorney wasn't even hard on the cop who got caught lying on the stand, who was sitting on the stand, and my attorney was just polite to him and didn't push back hardly at all. When the judge said, "Mr. Berry, cops make mistakes, they're human beings," I was like, yeah, I don't give a fuck about all that. Like I was, if I could have stood up, and I wish I couldn't, I would have said, "Your Honor, he flat out lied about a high-speed chase. There was nothing on the radio about a high-speed chase." But I watched them work in unison in a conspiracy, and my attorney, he didn't want to get my charges thrown out at pretrial. He wants to make trial money. He wants to get $100,000 out of me. So it was me against my attorney, against the district attorney, against the judge, and against the police. You can't win. So it's easy when you go to jail and you're guilty. Most people in jail are guilty. Okay, this is not something that's an everyday occurrence, but it happens more than you think. So if you're guilty, usually the evidence is like pretty damning, or maybe the people going there, they just say, "Yep, I'm guilty." I've watched them. I've watched many people. I sat in jail that whole time. I watched people going to trial or going into pre-trial or going into a court date, and we'll be sitting in the tank waiting for the jail tank, waiting for our time in the court, And most guys are going to say, yeah, man, I did it. I stole this copper from this house. Or, man, yeah, I broke this window. Or, yeah, I did this. They're pretty upfront about their being guilty. Not everybody's in there saying, I'm innocent. That's a farce. Most people in there are saying, yeah, guilty, I did it. Now, so for me saying innocent, like people are like, yeah, right, you're innocent. Yeah, sure you are. Everybody says you're innocent. No, that's not true. In fact, when you go to jail and you're arrested and you go to court and you are innocent and they have made a mistake, you can expect, at least in my experience, you can expect them to come at you with made up charges, exaggerated charges, inflammatory details of a situation that it was just hearsay from some woman. Oh, and by the way, later on, found out that one of the cops that was there, taking the report of my wife, they ended up having an affair. He told me about it. I know his name. And in fact, he even made another police report about me whenever I was accused of a terrorist threat to one of my wife's fellow employees. They called the cops and said I made a threat against their lives. And they used my veteran status and PTSD as a trigger to have the cops come out and question me. Now, I didn't get arrested for that because there was no evidence but it was the same cop that was having an affair with my ex-wife at the time was the one who wrote that report. No, actually it wasn't him, it was his partner. Because he knew he was having a relationship with my wife, so he had his partner write the report of me having this alleged terrorist threat to her coworker, which never happened either. She was having her coworker's life for her. She was telling people that I was abusive at her job. She was lying to everybody around her. And it just got worse. Now, this is just the tip of the iceberg. It's crazy. Okay, so here we go. I just punched into this next situation where I was falsely accused in Nigeria with my wife in Nigeria. After we had a breakup, I had to legally tell her that I had this domestic violence case on me. We got into an argument. I tried to get her to leave my room. She refused. She hits me. Well, I was making video. On video, it's on my channel.
Don't put that light on my face.
Okay, well.
You're very stupid.
Okay, then why?
Why are you recording me?
Why you hit me?
I'm hitting the phone, not you.
You hit me.
I didn't hit you. I hit the phone.
Yeah, you hit.
Why are you recording me? Why are you recording me? Are you trying to offend me sexually? Why are you recording me? Take that phone away from my face.
No, because you're fucking.
Take that phone away from my face.
No, why can't you just leave?
Why would I leave? The police are coming.
For what?
To question you.
For what?
You told the authorities you're coming to Nigeria to spend 30 days with me. Don't record me.
Don't hit me again.
Don't record me.
Don't hit me again.
Do not record me.
Then don't hit me again.
Put that phone away from my face.
Then don't hit me again. She hits me, knocks the phone out of my hand, then starts telling me she believed the past accusations, and she began accusing me of domestic violence as well. And then, so the cops came out, I showed them the video, they remove her from my room, and then later on I post that to YouTube. Her family and her, they all get even more mad, and then they start making claims that I was raping her in the throat, anus, all these other stuff. I have the recording and I have the video of her family calling me. Her sister called me and said, yeah, I raped her sister, spewing off. I had it on my voicemail. She's stupid enough to call my voicemail and leave that stuff. So
Hello, Bruno. Okay, so my cousin just called me now and alerted me to you putting me, her, and all our family members on YouTube. Let me tell you something, Bruno. I think you've lost your damn mind. You went to Nigeria, you raped my sister, Annalie, you harassed her, sexually harassed her, and then she said she doesn't want the marriage anymore. And now you want to start slandering me and everybody else? Let me tell you something. You're not getting away with this. If you think you can play around like that, it's not going to happen. You're going to get what's coming to you. I already called the police in Sacramento. I already started filing charges. I'm getting a lawyer, and I'm suing you for harassment. And let me tell you, for all the rape you raped my sister in Nigeria, thinking she's not going to get justice, we're getting justice for her now. Because we wanted to let it go for you to just go, but then you don't want that. So now we're standing up, and we're getting justice for Winifred. Okay? You can't go to Nigeria, rape her repeatedly in the throat, and the end is, and then you go out and get another woman pregnant, and now you're harassing her. Enough is enough. You're going to get what's coming to you. I think that prison you went to is not enough for you. You have to go back there because you are a danger to society. You are a danger to other people.
Message saved.
I'm not saying they're smart or they had a plan. They're certainly dumb the way they did it because it was easy to rebuff. But that's because I'm not in America. If I had been in America, I probably would have been arrested. So anyway, so Jim and I goes on to say, this is a textbook example of how a single legal shortcut, me taking the deal from years ago, like that plea deal you took just to see your son. Now, also, what I didn't tell Jim and I was also, listen, when you have a plea bargain offered to you, they can offer you no jail, just the record. And then, but if you go to trial, the risk of going to trial and the he said, she said thing, even if I had evidence on my side, because they probably would have blocked the whole high-speed chase thing. The problem with that is that if I would have got convicted, I could have got up to a life sentence. So you're faced with, do you want to risk going to trial and getting life? Or 50 years or 25 years? Or do you want to 2 months in jail, a little rehab program, or something like some counseling, and that looks pretty good. And also you get to start seeing your son. Which one do you think is normal to take? I mean, people say, oh, a guilty or innocent person never takes a deal. Oh, yeah? The people are so not, I laugh now because it's so easy for me to see, but other people trust the system. And also my lawyers told me, listen, juries are filled with retired, vanilla, naive, unknowledgeable people who are retired from the state, who work for the state, work for the government, who will be biased. And when there's an absence of evidence, he told me they usually convict. Now look that up if you want to. I think that's a fact. When there's a lack of evidence, either way, they will tend to convict, even though they shouldn't. Because they trust the government. We trust the police. We trust our government officials that are going to be seeking the truth. And that's the farthest from the truth. So anyway, just to see your son can create a recursive loop of vulnerability for the rest of your life. Absolutely it does. It is incredibly frustrating to hear that paper trail has been used to overwrite your actual lived reality. What you're describing is the weaponization of a record. When a system labels you, it essentially hands a manual to anyone who wants to hurt you later on. The sign-off as a tactical trigger. The immigration requirement you mentioned is a massive hurdle. By forcing you to have a spouse acknowledge your past conviction, the law inadvertently creates a power imbalance in your case. It seems the moment your Nigerian spouse realized that the state officially viewed you as a danger, she realized she had leverage. If she could provoke an incident and point back to that record, she knew the system would likely side with her. And then she could have got a free pass to come to America. She could have used that as she's married to an American and I'm abusive. Therefore, she can continue the immigration process without me, without my consent and force, and also have me in legal trouble. This is a scam that is quite often used on American men. And I've pointed to it in other videos, but it's not something that it can really be taught. People don't know this is happening because it's not happening on a large scale, but it does happen. The power of the video, she said, and he said, she said world. It is a huge relief that you had the presence of mind to pull out your phone. In the age of digital evidence, the video is often the only thing that can pierce through the bias of a criminal record. The Nigerian response, the fact that the police were there actually looked at the footage and removed her is a rare win. Yes, it is. It shows that even in a situation where the narrative was stacked against you, objective proof can still prevail. Okay, because it did, because it was, I showed the cop, this Nigerian policeman, clear video of her slapping the phone out of my hand and me clearly saying, please leave, please leave, please leave. And then when he saw that, he actually, the cop actually cussed her out. What are you doing to this American man that's coming here to see you and this is your husband? Do it. And he tried to get us to reconcile, but I said, no, I want her out. No, please take her back. She's going to be okay now. I said, no. He's not understanding my experience in this is that once you cross that line where you've done this, if a woman does that, that is immediately, I've never seen her again. That was the last time I saw her in person. She fucked herself out of American citizenship and a marriage to me because of her feelings. She didn't like that. Anyways, it was just a minor argument that just escalated to her being disrespectful to me. And I said, leave. You're being disrespectful to me. Leave. Oh, no, can't have that. See, women don't like that. They don't like it when you tell them no. When people are caught online on camera, they often double down with even more heinous accusations like rape allegations to try to reclaim the moral high ground. So this is what her sister did. Calls me. I got that recording too of her sister because they were mad because I put the video on YouTube to make it. I wanted to have it saved, so if I were to be arrested, someone could grab it off of YouTube for me. Because if I went to jail, I wouldn't have access to my. That's the thing. When you get arrested, you are immediately defenseless. You don't have access to records. You have to go through this system of subpoena, having your attorney. I wasn't risking all that. Okay, the psychological toll of forced honesty. There is a specific kind of exhaustion that comes from trying to be upfront about your past, only to have that honesty used as a weapon. You are essentially doing the right thing by being transparent, but because the original charge was a fabrication you accepted under duress, you're being forced to lie for the system, admitting to character that isn't actually you. So true. The far-reaching impact. It's clear this has affected every pillar of your life. Housing, being denied by the VA, the very organization that should understand the complexities of a veteran's life, is a deep betrayal. Security, being harassed by family members across borders, Nigeria to America, shows that the digital record has no boundaries. Reputation. Once someone like her sister starts making calls to American police with those types of heinous claims, you're back in the same defensive crouch you were back in 2003. It sounds like moving to West Africa was in part an attempt to find a place where you could exist without being constantly crushed by the weight of a flawed American paper trail. Have these recent false allegations from her family settled down or so? Yeah, so that's all behind me now. That was like 4 years ago. But the funny thing is, I see her sister checking on me on my WhatsApp. I haven't blocked anybody. Every once in a while, my ex tries to call me and tries to reconcile because like that's ever going to happen. But the funny thing is, I see her sister checking up on me once in a while, and not once has she ever even apologized. She has not even. She tries to come across as like a decent. She's a very beautiful woman. She's married, got kids, living in Colorado, and not once did she ever call me and say, "Hey, Bruno, I apologize." Nothing. They won't do it. Women do not say sorry for what they've done. This one was telling me I needed to be back in prison. All these rapes I did to her sister. That is the danger of living in America as a man. And people just don't think it is. They think, oh, men are just getting away with rape out here. No, men are getting falsely accused all the time. And once you get falsely accused, so look, I'm basically an outcast. I'm living on the fringes of society, even though I'm living in Cote d'Ivoire. But look where I'm forced to go. I'm forced to live in a place that's not my own because my own country has betrayed me in every single way imaginable. It's crazy. Okay, so that's the video. I did have a longer explanation of how my foot injury was actually very provable, and it's a very specific injury that can only happen for a rollover or for a car running over your foot. If you're welcome to go and research it yourself. When your foot is run over by a soft tire on a hard cement by a 5,000-pound vehicle, it is a specific, very specific injury that only happens in those situations, and it's certainly provable. So anyway, that's the video. Thank you for getting this far. I know it was a long video. So Sean, I know this is only part of the story, but this is not even where the story begins. This is not where the story ended. This does not take into account the second case that eventually came up, because once I was out of jail and went to my counseling and started having visitation, and I found out I couldn't get housing, I reconciled with my ex. Even after all that, I know that sounds crazy, but if you take into account how I was homeless, how I was being held hostage by the state. All my visitation of my son contingent on my wife's whims, my ex-wife's whims, and her controlling nature. And so what she did was further falsely accuse me into other crimes and further rapes and child endangerments and abuse of children and all these other things that weren't true. And it just snowballed. So anyway, Sean, I know this is not like a happy birthday, Sean! Ta-da! I have to explain this stuff. This is, you're a man now. This is not, I wish I could just say, you know, because years ago when I first started sending you videos, Sean, you know, I was very, when I heard your voice on the phone, I started to cry because I miss you so much. And I love you so much. You are my son. You always will be. Now, if you want to remain with your head in the sand, I understand it's a very complicated. You were a child. You didn't ask nor deserve to go through what you went through, and you didn't deserve what you're. I know that you don't see your family as the bad guys, but that's exactly what they were. Your father, your grandfather, your grandmother, your brother-in-law, your sister-in-law, your aunt. They all provided false information to the police, to the court system, because they were trying to get custody of you to Sandra. That's what happens. You were cut off from my family. You weren't given my side of the story. You were only 7. So for 20 years now, you've been alienated and told a false narrative. And of course, I totally understand why you would view me as a bad guy. But let me just say in closing, Sean, this is exactly what happened to me as a child. It took me until I was 42 years old before my own mother admitted to me, reluctantly, that she in fact lied about my father abusing her. She was running off with another man. She made false claims in family court. The court, this is back in the 70s, they allowed her to leave the state. It caused my father distress, and for years I was told that my father was a bad guy. Nah, my father's not perfect. I'm not perfect. Okay? Nobody is. But what I would never do, and I hold to this 100% with every fiber of my being, I would have never taken you away from your mother. If the roles were reversed and I had done what she did, I would have reconciled enough to where you could see your mother and you could get both sides of the story. I'm not trying to draw the lines in the sand here. Like I said, I'm here for you. That's all I can do. I love you. And if you're anything like me, you're not dumb. You can figure this out, okay? I have faith in you. I don't have a lot of hope that you will come to me. My father died before I could ever get the truth. So it weighs heavy on me. So I'm carrying a double burden. I'm not trying to make myself out to be the guy that's all the hurting. I know you've been hurt too, but so have I. For me to deny what happened to me would be a disservice to you as well. It's a very complicated, heart-wrenching way to look at it. But the truth is, Sean, that you should have had a father. I'm sorry the system failed you. I'm sorry the system failed you. I really am. It failed us both. And your mother has failed you. Big time. I have to put blame where blame belongs. I'm not one of those people that's just in denial and it's always somebody else's fault. I'm a very responsible man. I believe in taking responsibility. I sat in prison for years. I sat on parole for years. I took my lumps, even though they were less, even though it was an injustice, I still weathered through it. Here I am, buddy. Here I am, son. So at some point, get your shit together, man. Put this fucking 2 and 2 together, man. You're gonna regret it if you don't call me. You're gonna regret it. Emotionally. Bella, your sister, a handful. And you're missing out on you have a sibling. This is your sister. This is your sister. So anyway, I love you, boy. I hope to see you one day. I love you.